Hey everybody, welcome back to Keeping It Real with Tiff and Carl. I'm Carl Rabin,
I'm Tiff Salcido.
and today we wanted to focus on one of those soft skills we talked about in the in the last podcast, and it's really that idea of having meetings. A lot of people would think, "Oh, I have meetings all the time. What are you talking about? I have meetings. I have staff meetings. I meet with my staff. I see them all the time. They talk to me, right?" But how often do those meetings turn into status updates and fire drills, or they get postponed? It's such an important thing to recognize the value of meetings and the value of not having meetings, right?
Mhm.
And the devaluing of meetings when you don't have them consistently. And so those are important, but just thinking about those one-on-one structured scheduled meetings that have been recommended and but I've seen it in Forbes, I've seen it in Harvard Business Review, I've seen it in a lot of different areas. We value one-on-one meetings as professional coaches. There's a lot of value to them, right? And when you have a structured one-on-one meeting that's also flexible but structured, you create clarity, you promote development, you build relationships, and you help establish accountability. And so that really are the important pieces that we want to talk about with one-on-one meetings. So, Tiff, let me ask you, have what is your history with one-on-one meetings? I mean, have you had, and when you've had meetings, how have they gone? What have they been set up? Did they take care of what they're supposed to take care of? Did they live up to your expectations?
I'm going to say it depends, right? I've had several experiences. Um, First and foremost, I will say as an employee, my one-on-ones have always been fairly simple because I'm a pretty high performer and I do my job. So there's a lot of times the growth conversations that have been about like my mouth and what comes out of it. Because it's taken a while to get refined and understand that just because it's true doesn't mean that I should be saying it out loud, right? So that's been a big area for growth. So the very few times that we've had to have constructive conversations, it's usually been around the people skills part of it. Like you can't say that. You're not allowed to tell people you want to choke slap them, even if it's an imaginary act of violence. Um, so there's that. But I could say that a lot of times I didn't really dread the one-on-ones because it was usually just a review of, okay, this is where you're at, your performance is good, your whatever we're measuring. So whether it be, your accuracy is good, your efficiency is good, you're performing here at a high level. It was just kind of like a parent teacher conference. Like, you're doing fine, you're on the right track, keep going, keep your mouth shut. That's usually what it was about. My most interesting one, though, my most interesting one-on-ones was in the one of the last jobs that I had, and my supervisor and I were our birthdays were the same day, which I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but we never ever our one-on-ones were never about work. It was always like we would get together and we would talk about like all of the stuff in our houses, our families, like we were relationship issues, kid issues. At one point, I was doing this is so ridiculous, but I was doing like leadership development with my supervisor, like teaching her skills and teaching her, like giving her worksheets and coaching questions. But it was like a good time with a friend. But I still enjoyed it. But I still enjoyed it. Again, maybe I didn't get any earth-shattering performance reviews, but I did get a lot of connection and feeling safe and psychological safety with that, a lot more so than with the supervisor who just goes, your accuracy is this, your blah 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 is that, keep up the good work. That, again, it's true, but it's not necessarily helpful. So I don't know, those were my favorite one-on-ones because I just got to go gossip with one of my besties. So love it. If you're out there, Mila, thanks for that, it was a good time.
That's awesome. That you had a good opportunity to connect in that way. But, like you talked about the first piece, It's they're there for measuring performance, hitting your goals, having conversations about not choke slapping people or saying you want to choke slap them. So they tend to be things that are punitive. And they tend to be, or at least in the mind of the employee, they tend to be things that, oh, I hope I get through it. People manage those meetings. They hope they get through them without too much negativity. And because of that, people don't look forward to them. And I think a lot of managers don't look forward to them because what they're used to and what their experience is, oh, these are just meetings where I hope I get through them. Or, we just check on people's performance. And I talk to my staff all the time. I have an open door policy, blah, 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 and all those wonderful things. And, so you have those situations where you have those status updates, and then you have, the connection sessions. And I actually was part of an organization where our manager intentionally created two different meetings. One was our monthly status update where we would come in, we called it the WOMP, the what's on my plate,
Mhm.
right? And we had all of the projects we were working on and how they were connected to larger projects and how they connected to our goals for the year. So they were very focused on performance, helped us connect those. So at the end of the year in performance reviews, nothing was a surprise, nothing was a pop quiz. Everything that was rated had been documented and discussed, which was great. I mean, as somebody who is relationship focused, I looked forward to those because I also like to know if I'm on the right track. And if you're not communicating with me, my relationship focused brain goes, they're not communicating with me. I must have done something wrong.
Mhm.
And so that's an important piece. But then she also created a monthly meeting in the 2 weeks in between the monthly want meetings. The sandwich meeting was just a meeting where we would just connect. And it was a half an hour. The other one was an hour. This one was a half an hour. We just come in and, hey, so how are things going? How are you feeling? What are you experiencing? Right? What's going on with your family? What can I do to help? Right? Those little things were really, it was led by the employee. And those were things that we look forward to too. And we made them part of our calendar. I mean, they were, I don't know, an hour and a half a month of connecting with each one of our team members, the seven of us.
Mhm.
So I don't know. You say I do stats, but Tiff, I don't know math. Seven times an hour and a half. That's
Beyond my pay grade. I just think it's so funny. I have an accounting degree and I can't do math. I
see, that's
can't
why I knew
do.
you had a accounting. So 10.5 hours.
I
Uh,
will pulled out a calculator. Right?
so 10.5 hours per month
Uh-huh.
that you're
Yep, yep,
spending with
that's right. Double check.
one-on-one meetings with your staff. And we were high performing. We were an awesome team, and that just made us even more awesome and more productive and allowed us to have those conversations. They're not group meetings. They're not staff meetings where people all get a chance to speak. Because what happens in staff meetings? One or two people speak up, right? In training, one or two people speak up. The other folks, they back away. We've talked about people who are um, more extroverted or introverted, and it takes people longer to think about things. We need to give 5 to 7 seconds to formulate a question or a comment. And that doesn't happen in staff meetings and team meetings. It's excruciating in staff meetings and team meetings when that happens. But in a one-on-one conversation, those people can open up, can think about what they want to say. And as long as you're not rushing them to answer a question, they're much more candid. They're much more able to identify things that are challenging for them or things that have been challenging for them about what you do, which is a gift. No one wants to, and I wouldn't want to call my boss out in public, even if it's my team,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? But in a one on one conversation, you can train your leader in how to communicate with you, like you mentioned, right?
Right.
And so that's such a powerful thing that we can do when we have that time to be with somebody else in a one on one setting. And if people are uncomfortable with it, I get it, but recognize that it has been shown to build empathy, um, compassion, and also it builds capacity with other people. Where if you're doing the right, type of if you're having the right type of conversations, you're helping them solve their own problems.
Yeah. I don't know, remember if I've shared this on the podcast before, but when I think about the one-on-ones and I think about like feedback in general, if I'm going from a government perspective, government, we're not for profit, we don't get paid tons, despite what people might think, we're not getting paid incredibly well. So we don't get bonuses or extra time, like stuff that maybe the private sector can offer. If you're an exceptional employee, you don't really get any perks except for many times more work, more opportunity to do more stuff, which is great, right? You're doing you a lot of people in human services, we're doing it for the outcome, not for the income. So that's fine. But with that being said, one of the only, I guess, perks or benefits from being a high performer is that you get to see your performance evaluation at the end of the year. And if you're doing really well, you're going to have an exceeds or above standard, and you get to like see the acknowledgement of all of your hard work in writing. So as a former high performer, I don't know if I still am, but as a former high performer, I really look forward to my performance evaluation because it was kind of like a validation of all of the time, effort, and energy that I put into my work over that period of time, usually a year. So if I think about that, um, the comparison that I like to make to that performance evaluation and the one-on-ones is like a game of bowling. If we're bowling, you have 10 frames to get some feedback about how you're bowling, right? Because the goal is to get a perfect score, 300. And so if I throw my bowling ball. I don't know what the roll my I don't know what the official bowling term is. I'm not a bowler, but if I usually scoot it like this. So if I'm rolling my bowling ball down the lane and I get a gutter ball, I get immediate feedback and I can correct. If I do that consistently, I get that feedback. I can still correct before the end of the game. I can catch up. The same is true if I'm hitting strikes or spares every time. Every single time I get a chance up to that lane, I have an opportunity to celebrate my wins and to get feedback to adjust for my next round. So for me, that's the equivalent of the one-on-ones. It's that you're stepping up to the lane, you get to see like what your performance is like. So if it's great, it's an opportunity to celebrate. You get to do the strike dance. I don't know what your strike dance looks like, but ours looks something like that. Or yeah, there you go. So you get to like high five and celebrate your good performance, your good win. And if it's terrible and you hit a gutter ball, then you get an opportunity to adjust and do something different so that you can do better the next time. And that is, I think, helpful for people because imagine what it would look like in bowling if there's a sheet at the front of the lane and you're just throwing that ball over and over again and you have no idea if you're getting a gutter ball or if you're hitting a strike, you're missing all of that opportunity for growth. You're also missing all of the celebrations of what you're doing well. So if all you do is get your score at the end of the game, and it's a surprise, like most people probably wouldn't keep bowling because that's not the fun of it. So that's for me, like when I think about one-on-ones, it's that opportunity to say, okay, look, you got a strike, you're doing it right, keep rocking it. What do you need to keep this performance up? How can I support you? How do you want to be celebrated? That part of it. And if I'm throwing gutter balls or knocking down one or two, it's not you're a terrible bowler, you really suck at this, maybe you should just go back and work on that pitcher of beer. No, it's okay, you hit a gutter ball. Remember, we're trying to get strikes, so what do you need? What support do you need? Can I give you a few tips on how you're throwing the ball? Like aim right here, you see those lines on the lane, So we want to shoot for this one. Okay, let me watch you do it a couple of times and we'll see how you're doing. We can adjust as we go. Okay, you're doing better. Okay, why don't we try this? Okay, look, you still have a lot of development. Let's put the bumper guards up for a little bit. Let's put those bumper guards up until you can gain some confidence and then we can move from there. That's what I see the one-on-one as. Those check-ins so that that score, your performance evaluation at the end of the year isn't a surprise. And you got to have all of the growth and all of the celebration along the way. So I don't know if I've shared that before, but that's my feedback story. Bowling.
Yeah, no, I like the metaphor. I really do. I mean, because there's people I know that, oh, I'm not going to bowl because I'm not good at it. And
Right.
so if I feel like I'm not accomplished at something, then I'm not going to try it. And so
Mhm.
I'm not even going to, and if you put the bumpers up, then it's going to be embarrassing. I'm not a child, right? I'd rather just sit there and drink beer and make fun of you guys when
Right.
you're bowling, make fun of your dances and whatnot. And so just think about how that translates to the office. I'm not going to do this, but I'm going to judge you on how you're doing it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so it's a great metaphor. Because
Well,
yeah,
even so, yes.
you start with people helping you. Yeah. So you take, and when I learned how to bowl, I take 3 steps, have your backswing, don't go over the line. That, we talk about situational leadership.
Right.
You start with people telling you what to do. And then the more that you get comfortable with it, the more you get skilled at it. It can be, okay, so you did this. So what else can you do? What did you do wrong? What did you find that you made a mistake in? And how can you improve on that? To where the rest of it is, hey, I'm just going to hang out and watch you, hit strikes after strikes and score a 300. And remember, 300s are very rare. I know
Right.
people, I know some people who have multiple 300s, but that's not the norm. Those are near
Right.
professionals or people who really, do that on a regular basis, like scratch golfers.
Yeah.
The rest of us, we're struggling out there and doing our best to hit a spare
Right.
and to be excited when we get a strike. Wow, that's why we do the happy dance, because that doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
So how do we support each other through those situations and let people know that it's okay to fail as long as we're learning and getting better?
Right.
There's nothing wrong with the failing. It's like Top Golf. You ever go to Top Golf, Tiff?
Absolutely not.
So there's people out there that have never hit a golf ball in their life, but they've made it fun.
Yeah.
And so even if you're not hitting the ball, and I've been next to people in those bays with the couches and the tables who make fun of each other.
Hmm.
And that's not getting my wife up to swing her golf club, right? And because
Hmm.
she's embarrassed because she doesn't do it as well as other people, or but my cousin will just get up there and just say she'll just keep swinging, and like Bugs Bunny, 1, 2, 3
Yeah.
strikes, you're out. So different people have different needs when they are starting something or when they're not perfect at something. How do we help them through that? And so the one-on-one meeting is definitely a great opportunity for people to learn
Right.
from people who maybe are more skilled, more adept. That's the art of coaching, one-on-one golf lessons, one-on-one bowling lessons. The best time that I had as a baseball coach was, sitting in the batting cage with a kid and just showing them, the stance and the balance that you want to have when you're swinging through a ball. Everything else, those are byproducts of those one-on-one sessions that we have. And if you've ever had those, they translate to your job perfectly.
Right. Well, so if I'm sticking with that bowling metaphor here, imagine if you are hitting strikes and you look back at the people you're bowling with and you're like, doing your dance and everybody's on their phone and not paying attention. Like it doesn't feel as sweet, right? It doesn't feel as sweet to hit that strike because the people that are supposed to be celebrating with you are not. But God forbid you hit that gutter ball and now it's a whole conversation. And so I think that's what happens a lot with feedback is that we focus so much on where people need to grow, we don't have enough space or we don't create enough space to also celebrate the things that people are doing really, really well. And so this is where I feel like having a good structure in your one-on-ones is going to be incredibly important because we want to use this feedback as a multiplier to be a bridge between like the observation of people, what people are doing and growing. Because if we are not giving that feedback, people are either going to plateau and stop caring, especially your high performers, or they will start to drift. Like, what's the point of putting in any of this effort if it's not being acknowledged? I think you've mentioned already too about how important these one-on-ones are for building psychological safety. So when we are having these like regular caring feedback sessions, what it tells people is that growth is welcome. It's not a punishment. And so I can share with you like what you're doing well. I can also share with you like where you have some opportunity to thrive in a different way. So if I am avoiding these conversations or I'm not prioritizing these conversations, then that silence is sending a message that the performance doesn't matter or that the leader doesn't care. And that's going to erode trust. And so people are not going to be as invested if, again, I'm throwing strikes every time and nobody's noticing. I'm not going to really pay attention. Like I'm going to stop putting so much effort into it because why does it even matter?
Or
But for me, yeah, go
or
ahead.
you throw a strike and they say, "Oh, well, they were lucky,"
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
or
yeah,
"Oh, yeah, you threw a strike, but you throw it weird,"
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Or, "Oh yeah,
right,
I watched the next. I bet you won't get two in a row."
right,
So either
right,
people are quiet or they're hating,
right.
and very often they're hating on you with other people.
Yeah. So what I would recommend, thinking about why this is so important, for human services, I think there's like an additional connection here. And that is because we are in such a people-centered business, leadership really has an obligation to model the type of relational skills that are necessary for working with vulnerable communities. So if we have people who are very people focused and being able to give effective feedback will translate to your workers and your employees giving that same empathy and candor to how we treat clients and communities, which is essentially what we're hoping for. So I always say leaders go first. If you're really like looking to create, like we've been talking about the shift in human services from being less compliance based and to be more like people focused, that has to happen inside the organization as well.
Yeah.
So leaders, supervisors, managers, directors have an obligation to really engage in that effective feedback with the empathy and candor that they're expecting from their staff and how they engage with the public. And
Yeah.
so if you're not doing that, then you can't hold your staff to a higher standard than you're holding yourself.
Yeah, what you're referring to is what people call the parallel process, right? The way
Right,
that you
right.
treat your staff is the way your staff will
Yep,
treat your customer. So
right.
it's so true. It's so true. And so people are like, okay, so yeah, we know it's important, Carl. We know, Tiff, you're telling us how beneficial it is, but how do we do it? Well, there's there's a couple things that you need to have. First of all, they have to be consistent,
Yep,
right?
yep,
Rescheduling, like I talked about, makes people not trust that you think that they're important. So they won't think that it's important. And when it happens, they're not prepared for it because, well, we never have these.
right,
I'm in a band and we have practice on Thursdays and Thursday mornings or Thursday afternoons, they get called off. It makes me not value those practices or makes me think, well, I can plan other things because we're not going to do this. Right. So we want to make sure that they are scheduled and that they're regular, that we find time in our schedule to make those happen, right? Another thing is we want to make sure that they can be in person as much as possible, right? I was coaching a client who works for the state, and her idea was, well, I have one-on-one meetings and they're just not effective. And I said, well, what's going on? Well, I meet with them online, and we connect. And I said, okay, well, do you guys ever see each other? Yeah, we see each other 2 days a week. We go into work 2 days a week and we're all there, but we're turning stuff into each other. They're having me sign stuff off and then we have a staff meeting and then I'm signing off their approvals or proposals. And I said, okay, so you're having your one-on-one meetings virtually, but you're signing off in person. Yeah. I said, okay, well, can you sign off in person? I mean, can you sign off virtually? Well, I guess I have a, you can send me an email. I mean, there's nothing that I'm necessarily signing. And if I do need to
Mhm.
sign it, I can sign it virtually in a PDF or something. I said, okay, cool. And then one-on-one meetings, yeah, but I have 6 people and we only have 2 days. I said, well, if you're having them every 2 weeks, you can have your staff meeting on a Tuesday and then have two one-on-one meetings on Wednesday. And then the next Tuesday, you have your next two one-on-one meetings. And then that next Wednesday, you have another two one-on-one meetings. So
Mhm.
you get all 6 of your staff and it's not taking up your whole day.
Right.
And so how do, we can fix that into our schedule. Those things that are important to us, we always find time to do. If we know that these things are important for team morale, for psychological safety, for retention, for communication, we need to do that. The next thing is we want to make sure that it's employee driven.
Mhm.
These are things that where we aren't doing most of the talking. And those want meetings I was telling you about,
Yeah.
Tiff, we had a an Excel spreadsheet that we just plugged and played we put our stuff in there and we printed it out and brought it to our boss and sent her a copy so that she was reading along with this as we were talking about what the status updates were and providing those specific things. She didn't have to speak at all.
Mhm.
And then in our catch up meetings, they were just us talking and maybe asking her questions where she could provide those. But even in those structured performance meetings, we were doing all the talking. What does that do? That builds capacity, that builds that ability for people to feel like they can express themselves without fear of reprisal, creating psychological safety. Also, another thing that it does is that when you go into your boss's office, you're not afraid of being ambushed, right?
Right.
How do you feel about come see me when you have a sec,
Oh,
Tiff,
absolutely not. Spiral, immediate spiral.
right? And that's not because you're soft or because I'm soft. It's a neurological thing. It's a function of your brain. Your brain has to have connections. And when come see me in my office and I don't know why, our brain will fill it in. And it's the lizard brain, the limbic system, the reptilian part of our brain, who's concerned with safety, goes to the worst case scenario,
Mhm.
probably to prevent us from going into shock when we hear bad news. So we always spiral. 9 times out of 10, we spiral, even if it's our manager we've known for years. I mean, I've known my dad 53 years. And when he texts me, hey, give me a call, I immediately go to the same thought that I did when I was grounded. I'm not grounded. I own my own house. You can't tell me what to do. Worry about yourself. Right. And so, but that's in my head. And then oh, yeah, I just wanted to catch up. Man, you got to tell me that stuff. Right. So, providing that context, I've taught him to say, when he texts me, hey, give me a call. I just wanted to catch up. Okay, cool. So I know what to happen, even if it's a negative thing. Hey,
Mhm.
come see me in my office. I need to talk to you about the numbers. They haven't been too good. Let's work on some things to figure that out. Now you're prepared and
Right.
you're not in ambush mode. You're not in defensive mode. So you can actually have a real conversation where you can express yourself in the way that you want to in a prepared way. Right. So they need to be structured, but also flexible. Give people a space to be able to color within the lines. Right. And so these are things that have to happen. You have to be consistent. They have to be driven by the employee and they have to have a structure. So, an agenda, and your agenda could just be checking in the first 5 minutes. How are things going? How's your family? What'd you do this weekend? Did your son made it to the state tournament? Whatever it is. And then priorities and progress. What's on track? What's off track? Let's talk about that. And then also what's getting in the way of those things that are off track? How can I help you? And then what are some things that you've learned about this? What are things you can do better? So getting in that coaching conversation and then allowing for them to have feedback. And that's the important thing. Feedback is not just leader to staff. Feedback is 360. And I wanted to talk to you about this. I noticed this, and here's what I thought. What are your thoughts? And the more that that person trusts you, the more that you're going to get their honest, unfiltered, or maybe filtered, but in a not so measured way of connecting with people. And so, I mean, just those little agenda pieces, that's the structure we talk about. There's 5 things you can hit. and let them fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
That creates that ability to be prepared for those meetings, which makes them more meaningful for your staff and for you. It's not a waste of time.
No, it's a very good use of time. And I want to just throw out there real quick, it doesn't have to be an hour long. If you can do 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, and that's what you need, then that's what you do. So make it reasonable for what your workload looks like. And make it meaningful. So don't, I mean, have a template, have a structure to how you approach it, but don't be so structure focused that if the conversation has to go in another direction, that you can't move in that other direction. Um, you know, and I would also recommend with these. I love that you say start with that connection. Like I think that's such an important piece of this. Letting people know what they're doing well, maybe some focused feedback on what they could do better. I love the idea of coaching through this. Um, but make sure you also document, right? It's like the scorecard for bowling. Document like what you did, what they said. It doesn't have to be a transcript, court transcript of the whole conversation, but maybe some brief notes about like what they're doing well and what you shared, and maybe some of those opportunities for growth and what their plan is. But it has to be a dialogue. And I really feel like where there's a missed opportunity with many of the one-on-ones that I've experienced is that you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, do this. Any questions? Great. That you gave me a lot of info, but this could have been an email, right? It's not a conversation, it's not a dialogue. So I would say make sure that as a leader, if you're the one kind of guiding that conversation, that you listen just as much as you speak, if not more so, and really use it up as an opportunity to ask your employees, your staff, like what type of support they need from you as well. That's the 360, I believe, that you're talking about. Um, but make sure that you're asking for what they need as well. It's not just about you and the stats and what you're noticing, but they should have an opportunity to do this as well. So I know we want to it's time to wrap up. So what I would encourage everyone to kind of think about is, how do you currently structure your one-on-ones? Are they updates or are they opportunities for growth? And so what do you need to adjust to make them more meaningful? And also think about, what would shift in your culture? What would shift in your organizational culture specifically if this feedback and these one-on-one sessions were viewed as an act of respect instead of an evaluation? And so for me, just kind of like my closing thoughts here is that, this feedback is not about fixing people. It's really about helping them see what you're seeing and having a conversation, and then building the confidence to be able to act on it and to continuously improve and develop. And so, and if in that time you get some opportunity to talk about your troubles and give some advice and connect on a human level, that's like the icing on the cake. But baby steps, right? Baby steps. But keep your appointments, make them proactive. Don't just have the one-on-ones when you're reacting to something. Make sure it's a standing appointment. Prioritize it for sure.
And one of the things, a one-on-one meeting is not in a vacuum. They build off of each other. We follow
Yes.
up on things that we talked about in the last meeting, and we give homework, right? If that's important, or just ask people to do something, and then we check on that the next time we meet. And
Mhm.
these are things that connect the last meeting with the next meeting, with the meeting after that, which creates that continuity and creates that trust.
Mhm.
And so, you know, trust, it may seem weird, it may seem clunky. I've had clients that say, I tried a one-on-one meeting and my employee was like, "What are you getting at? What are you trying to get out of me? Why are you trying, what are you're interrogating me?" And trust, if it feels like an interrogation, then you're doing it wrong. But also the first time that you do it, it may feel like an interrogation because that's not how you usually connect with your staff. And so, but just recognize the more that
Yeah.
you're consistent with them and let them know what you're trying to do, the more that they will see you following through on something, which immediately builds trust. So
Yeah.
trust yourself, trust your staff, trust the process, and trust us. And We will be back.
Trustable.
Be trustable. Yeah. Ooh, that's you're bringing it back. That's old
Fake my
school.
fake my fake word. My fake word
That's right.
trustable.
All right. So until our next episode, I'm Carl,
I'm Tiff.
and keep it real.
Keep it real,
Keep it real trustable.
real trustable.